What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. You're in the Poke Vault, and today we're going to be doing something completely different than what we usually do. We are talking with none other than PokeNav himself about investing. Yo guys, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Like I said, this is going to be something completely different than what you're used to out of this channel. We talked to PokeNav himself, okay? You know him well, for an hour and a half on the Pokemon market, Pokemon investing, pro tips in the industry, what to buy into, what to stay away from, maybe some hidden gems, stuff like that. So grab your popcorn, take a seat, take a long drive. It's an hour and a half. You know, put the kids to sleep, have dinner first, and then watch this thing, or at least listen to it, because there is some definite knowledge being dropped in here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And give your boy a follow. PokeNav's info is all in the description. I'll link his channel. Give the guy a sub. Go check him out. He drops like banger info. It's completely different than what we do here in the vault. And he's a guy that I went to before I started giving investing tips. He's a guy that I went to grab some plays on what to buy into when it came to Pokemon a few years ago. So keep that in mind. All right, guys. I'm not going to talk anymore. It's already been too long. Let's get right into this.
All right, everybody, I think we are live. We have finally made it. A little bit delayed here, but nonetheless, we are going to have a fantastic conversation here tonight. Another episode of the Pokemon Masterclass. And I've got my good friend, you guys know him well. Please welcome, everybody, the one and only PokeVault. Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's up, dude? Thank you so much for having me back, man. I appreciate it.
So good to have you. I didn't think that it was actually going to transpire. You know, I thought that the evil internet overlords were gonna take over us today.
Yeah. So 2-second backstory. We were slated to go at 3:30 today, and 18 minutes before we were supposed to start, I obviously set up. I'm ready, and my entire grid goes down for Wi-Fi. So it was obviously a sign. This is obviously going to be better for this episode, okay, a masterclass, because we're in a better time slot anyway. 3:30 is not a time slot. 6 o'clock is a time slot. So, but yeah, it was not meant to be then. And it came on an hour later, but you know, here we are. I'm happy to be here.
It never fails, dude. I tell you what, internet companies, really any utility company, it always is going to go down at the most inopportune times, right? Yeah. And they always give you that super vague, we were talking about, like that super vague time frame. It's like, oh yeah, it should be on any time between now and like 3 hours from now, right?
Yeah, it should be on between now and the time you pass away, but for sure it's going to be on at some point.
Right,
you know?
Right. Well, yeah, dude, it's good to have you on here. It's been a minute since we last spoke, and we were talking about it for the podcast. I mean, you've just made huge strides on your channel. You've got such a strong community, and just loving everything that you're doing right now. On your way up to almost getting closer and closer to 10,000 subs.
I'm getting close to it, man. It doesn't. So, you know, I don't know how many people that are watching this now watched our first episode together. It was obviously different. The background didn't look the same. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no concept of how others were perceiving me. I had stuff going on all over the place. There's receipts over there, water heater, you know, I'm in my garage. I mean, it's just a mess. But since then, I've gotten so much help just from the community in general, whether it was, you know, good feedback or bad feedback, being more comfortable in front of the camera, trying to understand, you know, from my viewers' point of view. So my earlier episodes, I'd be going, you know, a 3-minute intro, and they're like fast forwarding, you know, and I'm seeing that through analytics. I mean, I'm just, like I said to you before we started this, I feel like I'm on the cusp of evolving into a Charmeleon. I'm like a really strong Charmander right now. Like I'll burn you real bad, or, you know what I mean? Like I'm like right there. But yeah, I feel good about this, man. This is something that came about during lockdown, you know, and yeah. I did this with my daughter. Now my daughter is kind of shying away from it. I've talked to my wife. We're not overexposing her because she's starting to like pander to the camera and acting different in not behind, you know, not in front of the camera. And we really did. I mean, you know, you're a father. We really didn't like that. So we kind of put a stop to that. But then it's already this thing, and there's 7,800 humans here now sometimes, and I'm trying to still feed this machine. So it's cool though, man.
No, dude, I love what you're doing, and like I said, you've got probably one of the strongest communities that I've seen. You know, for 7,800 of them, they are 7,800 strong and
they're all
loyal subscribers and followers to you. It's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and just some backstory for your viewers. You are one of the first people that I watched coming into the. I've always been in the game some way, right? Collecting, trading with some of the bigger names in the community. But when I came to when I wanted to get some like good sound advice on what's going on, trying to grasp a handle on what's going on, and in the game right now, I'd always come to your channel. I always loved your content. I loved listening. You kind of speak my language on my rational side, like, hey, how should I jump in and out of this product into this set? So that's what I always came to you for that. And I'm sure that's what your viewers, are watching you for. Cause that's, you can't put a price on that. You're doing it for free essentially,
Yeah, no, dude, I truly appreciate that, and it's always pretty baffling to me, when people do say, hey, your content, and I'm sure you get the same thing as well. Hey, Pokevault, like your content really influenced me to start my own channel, or it's given me a different outlook on how I want to invest or collect or maybe create a business around. And for me personally, that was my big impetus for starting the channel. Was I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been a business guy. I've been an investor, former financial advisor. And I thought if there was one thing that I could bring to the hobby, it's maybe instilling in people or maybe encouraging them to look at something like Pokemon in a different light, maybe to correspond that to the investing world of finance and be able to use a lot of those concepts and strategies and use them in Pokemon. So it's always fun. It's always fun to hear that.
I couldn't agree more, man. And before I looked at it as purely a hobby, and you and I both know when we started, it really wasn't profitable. No. A lot of times it wasn't profitable to buy into to the hobby. It wasn't profitable really to go after graded slabs unless you hit that 10. A lot of times I was losing money grading slabs, but I love doing that. So that's my slab collection is so much stronger than my seal collection, right? So I never looked at it as a business. Then I started to listen to guys like you. I started to listen to other guys. I'm listening to Z. I'm listening to other people, and they're like, hey, this could be a business. So then I started buying strategically. I'm listening to what you're saying. You're saying, hey, this set's hot for this reason. I started looking at sets differently other than what's that one chase card? And I started to develop that. And now, if you look, even with people saying Pokemon's down right now, if they looked at, I've had multiple videos where I talked about where I started. If you went back to 2015 and compared it to now, you would be a genius. You would be a connoisseur in the stock market. If you compared it to the stock market, you would be a multi-millionaire if you were buying on that level with the type of returns that you're seeing. Imagine if you were in the stock. The stock market. Imagine if you could peg a stock and the share goes up 3 times in 2 months, and then you knew that was going to happen. You would be at the top of any a lending institute or trading institute. You would be someone people would go to. So.
And it's really interesting too, because talking about those early years back when I got back into the hobby back in early 2016, you're absolutely right. It's like a catch-22, because back then, talking about graded cards, I could send a card into PSA and I'd get it back no later than a month. 30 days max. I was getting.
And it cost you $7 to grade it.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was hard to move those cards because people just weren't familiar with grading and graded cards and the premiums that generally come along with something like that. So you had this catch-22 where you could get cards back a lot, but it was really hard to churn that type of product. And nothing to be said about sealed products as well. Sealed products it was just something that wasn't in the social consciousness, I think, of most people. There were still collectors that thought that was cool and that was neat, but it really wasn't until something like the 20th anniversary, like Evolutions. It really wasn't until something like Hidden Fates really took off, where you started to see within a few short months the value of sealed products really start to rise. And then people started to think to themselves, oh, well, that makes sense, because over time, this supply is going to go down, right? There's always going to be graded cards that come back onto the market, but those sealed products that you're trying to get those cards from, the supply of that is always going to go down. I mean, it's really economics 101, but it's interesting how the hobby has changed. It's interesting how the thinking and the zeitgeist has changed within the hobby over the years. And interestingly enough, I feel like everything comes around full circle, because now we're back in a position where something like graded cards, we could flip them, right? You could flip graded cards pretty easily and pretty quickly, but you just can't get them graded.
No.
So unless you've got a graded collection at your disposal, you're going to have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to get those cards graded. The days are long gone of $7, $8 graded cards. And now you have to think to yourself, am I willing to wait 7, 8, 9 months to get a card back to try to get that back out onto the secondary market?
I think that that's optimistic at this point, because I have about 700 cards at PSA right now. No joke. Between myself, and then I have a few hundred for some friends. And this is back when you could do that, the friend thing, because you could just submit it. For the people watching, for just a little backstory, PSA is closed, and it has been closed for bulk submissions for months now. They were supposed to open last month, if I'm not mistaken, and for bulk submissions. And bulk submissions went from, you could get a deal if you did 100 cards, you could do them $5 a card, then 6, then 7, then 10, then 15, then 20. Then they were receiving 500,000 cards a day, and then they closed. I just kind of like captured 3 years just for you guys, right, of grading. Now they're closed to bulk submissions. The lowest end submission that you can do right now is $150 for a $4,999 declared value towards the end, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes it practically impossible to grade anything that could even have a chance of coming back at less than that. So there's no possibility of flipping cards anymore. And now you're forced into a position where there's a huge market share that can be captured by other grading services, CGC, ECG, BGS, but they don't carry the same weight as a PSA card. Just in general, I don't think that there's enough market knowledge or confidence in other grading services. And then there's just an allure. There's a prestige, there's a premium for PSA cards. And it's put us in a really weird position for those of us that were using PSA cards actually as a small business, feeding the junk slab, thing, or whatever, if that's an actual thing. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm not crazy about the word junk slab anymore, because I think that there's a graded card for every level of collector. So sure. I'm not crazy about that, but we're in a weird place, and PSA. So I have a rep at PSA, and I talk to him regularly as much as I can. And he goes, listen, I don't know who I work with anymore. We've hired 100 times over new people. They're trying to build out infrastructure, and they're using the AI for grading, and they're trying to catch up on their backlog. They're in for, just to give you an idea, Nav, they're into October of last year for bulk submission still so there, if you get what I'm right, you know what I'm saying, but like for the people watching, they're still grading a backlog from October of 2020, and that's how they keep, they move in line, right, for first come first serve. So they're still a year out easy on anything submitted, so I don't know, man. That's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and I went with my last 2 submissions through Graded Gem, because I felt like they were still the a really good option, because I was able to get cards graded for essentially $8 a card. And I think for Graded Gem, I think they're around August bulk submissions from last year. So yeah, I mean, I did a submission in October of last year, and then also in February of this year. So I'm really not expecting to get anything back until probably beginning of next year. is probably at the earliest.
Which is crazy to even, I mean, but it goes along with, which I'm sure we're going to get into, supply chain issues and all this other stuff. It seems like everything is just back ordered. And we were so spoiled. I used to be able to send in 200 cards off the rip and get them back in 3 to 4 weeks for $7 a piece. I mean, it was a beautiful thing for a second, But,
yeah. And it's one of those things that, I always talk about. To be in this hobby, especially in this day and age, I think you have to be malleable. You have to be able to adapt to the changing market because it's always changing. So if that was your business model before, or this was your way of generating cash flow, well, you're going to have to start to think of other ways now. With the backlog, and as long as it takes, now you have to start looking at other means of trying to create that cash flow, and maybe look at graded cards as more of a kind of a long-term type of thing, right? Like this is like your it's not your quick flip in the sense, like I'm in the real estate market as well. So this would be sort of analogous to like your long-term rental property, right? It's that cash flow, that smaller cash flow that you generate over time. You'll allow the property to appreciate, and then you sell it at a higher price later on down the road. Whereas you can go in by a foreclosure, right? That's the way it used to be. You go in, you pick it up for cheap, you get it refurbished, renovated, and then you flip it for a profit. Kind of the same thing with the graded card world.
And before, so when we could get cards back in 3 to 4 weeks, and I hit that PSA 10, because another thing is their standards were much more lax back then, in my opinion, and they've become much more inconsistently strict, is how I would describe it. Because I have gotten returns back in this time, a little bit, little by little. And they become very inconsistently strict, or inconsistently kind of more lax. It's weird, depending on what you're grading. But like back then, you could, if I got a PSA 10, I had a hard time selling that card and realizing the value then. Now, if I get a PSA 10 back, I'm probably going to bury it in the backyard. You know what I mean? Because I just know I'm never going to see that card again. I got a PSA 10 staff Charizard back, and it was right when they locked down, and then I got it back. It was supposed to be a month, and it took 7 months. I was gonna flip that thing because it was selling for $3,500, and I was like, I'm gonna use this to buy some seal product. I got it back. It's still in the vault. It's still in the safe over there. It's not going, because I'll never get that card again. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like that.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up too, because I've said the same thing about CGC. We talk a lot about PSA, but CGC 10s, those are almost non-existent out there. I've only seen two. Two cards that I've seen that have come back as CGC 10. Unfortunately, I've never actually held one in my hand, but I have only witnessed 2 CGC 10s out there. And to me, that's almost like a black label.
I was just going to say that it's a BGS black label. I was just going to say
that. It's almost like a black label. And I would say to people, if you have a CGC 10 in your possession, I don't think it really matters what the card is. I don't care if it's a common, if it's a modern full art, whatever it is. That in and of itself, I think, is going to hold a really high premium, and that may be one thing that you want to hold on to for a little while, because I think more and more people will realize just how scarce CGC 10s are and are going to be for the foreseeable future. And so you might be well off just getting any CGC 10s that you can pick up with, regardless of card.
I've never held one myself either, but I couldn't agree with you more, because if we think about it, CGC doesn't have the market. What's the word I'm looking for? The how recognizable it is, right? It doesn't. It's not solidified as much as, let's say, PSA. Two things could happen. PSA stops, they become stagnant, and they're not grading anymore. CGC gains huge market share, and then also the confidence of the people grading, and then the value starts to meet the confidence, right? And then you have a CGC 10, which they never gave out anyway.
Right.
I mean, you could really have a premium product there. I mean, like the Blacklight. Remember when Hidden Fates came out? And the moment it came out, people were sending in the shiny Charizards left and right. The first BGS Black Label 10 comes out, it sells for $10,000.
Oh yeah.
I mean, That guy was a genius. But yeah, I mean, talk about realizing the value and the equity. I mean, instantly. So
yeah. Well, and I think this is a good segue to talk about shortages, because that's really what we're discussing here, is like shortages of product, scarcity, things like that. Before we move into that, though, I want to give a big shout out. We got a couple super chats in here. PokeDog. Hey, PokeDog, thanks for that $5 super chat, my man. Y'all are legends. Thanks for the inspiration, both of you. I really like PokeDog. I watch his videos too. Talking about doing, he does some videos with his daughter as well, which are really fun. And then also Tyler Reagan, shout out to the Vault Squad and PokeNav. Hashtag road to 10K. Love it.
So Tyler, shout out to Tyler and shout out to PokeDog. But Tyler, he is our mod of mods. He mods our Discord. He mods our YouTube. There's other mods, but that dude, I don't know if he sleeps. And he's always in there reffing the mod, because people get into it in there. We have reffing the Discord, but we'll shout out to Tyler. He is all over the place. That guy is like, I don't know. He's like a shadow. He's there. Yeah.
No, I see him in a lot of chats. It really doesn't matter what the channel is. If it's a Pokemon channel, you can find that guy in there.
His whole family, his wife is the same. His wife loves the hobby. They're just happy people, and they just love to be here. Which is, I mean, that's it. That's what it's about.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, big shout out to you guys. Appreciate that. So let's jump into this here. Let's jump into these shortages, because I'm interested to get your take on this. I recently made a video. We found out. Well, we were hearing it through the grapevine, through our distributors, that Fusion Strike was going to be rough, that it was going to be really, really rough, that there's this supposed printing error that has occurred, some kind of printing malfunction that is ultimately resulting in what we're expecting as a 70% supply cut. So I want to get your opinion on this, because it's really baffling to me, because I remember when we were talking before, and this was months ago, and we were both saying, hey man, I think by fourth quarter 2021 we should be out of it by that point. We'll be back to normal, things will be rolling smoothly. And here we are, man. Here we are once again.
It sounds like a dream for Rusty at TCA Gaming. A bunch of error cards, 70% error cards, But I mean, no one saw that coming. And then I'm convinced on some level, obviously the demand never left, right? Our Pokemon, I don't care what anyone says, the TCG, the hobby itself, is probably the strongest I've ever seen it. It is very strong, regardless of up or down, what you're buying. I mean, there's anomalies everywhere on stuff that's high, stuff that's low, and we can talk about that. But as far as supply goes, I think this has to do with it's more on like a global scale in a sense, a lot, I think too, because there's shortages in everything. So even in my business, and this can apply for Pokemon also, there's shortages when it comes to raw materials. Obviously, Pokemon is paper, okay, but it could come down to even the foil that they're using, whatever it is, the plastics that they wrap the boxes in. There's certain delays that we can't even begin to comprehend, because the globe itself is experiencing these shortages in all different types of raw materials. Not only that, but then transit. So there's container shortages, there's truck shortages to load the containers. The port of Long Beach itself, depending on where the product comes in from, is clogged. It has 70 vessels floating at the port of Long Beach. Wow. So there is so much happening around this that I think there's a problem getting food to the table, and you have a table full of people trying to eat, and it's like that. That's how I see it, and with the shortages, I'm just happy that they're saying it's only a month, that we have to wait for second wave, first wave, third wave, whatever it is. But yeah, it's felt good for a second. We had product for a second, and then now we're in a drought again, because I gauge it by my local Target. Because I know that there's workers there that are stealing the stuff. It doesn't even hit the shelves. If there's stuff on those shelves, then the world is right again. I remember putting it in Discord. I'm like, we're out, we're saved. There was Evolving Skies blisters on the hung up. There was singles up there. 480, 449, we're back, whatever. And then I go there the next day because the place I like to eat is right next door. It was gone. Mm-hmm. It was gone, Mm-hmm. So, and they have a limit of what you can buy. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's like there's so many storms happening that are hurting supply,
So what I worry about is we exist in a time where Pokemon has initiated this 3-wave system where you will get your first release and then you will get 2 subsequent waves. Well, what we were finding was there was about a 3-month hiatus roughly between initial release and subsequent waves. So from first to second, about 3 months, second to third, about 3 months. So we were actually supposed to get another wave, the third and final wave of battle styles in September, which would have fit perfectly. That would have been about 3 months in between first wave to second to third. Well, the problem with that is that Pokemon doesn't actually let you know when those subsequent waves are going to happen. It's all kept under wraps. The only time that you actually know when it's actually occurring is you're getting your invoice and you're getting a tracking number basically saying, hey, it's on the way. Right. Well, this is one of the few times where they actually must have said something to the distributors. Distributors then passed it along to the resellers that Battle Styles was being postponed to October. Okay. So now what you've got arguably one of the busiest quarters of the year. You've got a month where you're supposed to release one of your hottest, most anticipated sets in recent memory in Celebrations. So you've got to try to get enough stock out there in the month of October. You've got to try to get another wave of Battle Styles out in October. Less than a month later, you have to get Fusion Strike out there. Well, guess what? Now we're getting into the territory of we're looking at the second wave of Chilling Reign, right? Now we're getting into December. They're starting to put out these new collection boxes that are supposed to be releasing in December. So now you've got a whole line of other tangential products that have to be released. And then what about that next wave of Evolving Skies? So I feel like what's happening here is they're creating this huge bottleneck where there's so many sets and there's so many products that have to be released. And when you start pushing out these waves, you start running into a point where they just don't have the manpower. And is there going to come a point, which we've seen it before, where they just say, you know what? We're just not going to do that next wave. We're just not going to do another wave. We're just not going to release it. And then you run into 2022, and the other problem with it is that Pokemon also shares printing facilities with other TCGs. They don't have their own printing facilities. So now you're trying to allocate time on these printers with all of these other TCGs in conjunction with trying to release all of these waves and all of these subsequent releases. And it just, to me, it just spells disaster. It spells disaster. And on top of that, you also, and this is where I kind of have a little bit of a cognitive dissonance when I look at this, is that we can have a set like Fusion Strike where they say, oh, there was a printing error. There was some kind of malfunction, whatever. Yeah. And we can't get it out. Or we can get something like Evolving Skies where, first wave is decent, but now we're saying that Celebrations is supposed to be shorted. But then we can have a print to demand set like Battle Styles where they can just print that first wave, or they can release that first wave and second wave into Oblivion, but we can't do it with subsequent sets. And that's why it just never really makes any sense. Like when you feel like you're starting to get a grasp on what they're doing and the strategies that they're employing, and you try to be able to relate that to the community, they throw a complete 360 on you. And and then you're just like, okay, I have no idea what's going on now.
Yeah. Battle Styles kind of, that's a funny, that I'm glad you brought that up, because Battle Styles was one of those sets that people were excited when it came out. I opened a good amount of it. I like the set. I think it's a strong set. I like some of the artworks. You know what I mean? It's the first child of 4 that came out right after it. I think, Evolving Skies is goated as a set. When I got into that set, just the artworks are just insane. There's so many chase cards, right? So everyone wants that. Chilling Reign is also a good set. It's better. I would say it's better than Battle Styles, but just by a little bit. But Battle Styles now is that redheaded stepchild, and at the time you could get as much as you wanted. And I was buying it from Rusty for literally wholesale because he had to move it because he ordered so much of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And he had to move it. So I was trying to buy as much as I could here and there, and I'm still trying to buy Hidden Fates. And it's like, now I don't even know what to recommend to people, what to get into, because they're like, is Battle Styles a good buy? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure. I think anything is, whatever you can get your hands on. Battle Styles is a tough one because I don't know. I still think there's a lot of it. I still think there's a lot of, you can get it for for a decent price. And then like as far as the waves are concerned, I would let the set cool off, it come out super hot, and then singles is where it's at. If you guys want, if you want to have, pro tip, if you want to open up a bunch of the newest set and sell the singles, sell the biggest hits, that's where you're going to make your money if you're trying to do that. But I would always buy in the middle when it's cooled off. And then once it's out of print, that's when I really start to, to buy when I feel like it's going to go back up. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. Battle Styles, you could get as much as you wanted, but like, I can't get some more Chilling Reign. I can't get any more, like Evolving Skies was gone as soon as it came in. I got 40% of my allocation. I mean, you have a business revolving around it, so I can't imagine what you're going through and trying to get your customers' product, right? I mean,
it's a nightmare, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It's a nightmare because just when you think that you're starting to turn the corner on it, like we were talking about, then something like this happens. And the wave system has sucked from the beginning, because if we were able to just get our full allocation right up front, like, everybody's taken care of. Like, members are taken care of, everybody's good to go. But when they break it up on these waves, then it's like, okay, we're going to give you maybe 40% in the first wave, and then you'll get maybe 30% and then 30% or something like that. And it's just, and you don't know when those next waves are going to be. We had an idea because we were starting to see a trend, but then now when they get pushed out and they get pushed further and further and further, before you know it, and by the time the last wave of Battle Styles comes around, what are booster boxes going to be at that point? They were dropping down below $90 a booster box, and I was telling people too, I was like, folks, if you're going to buy them, buy them now. Buy them now. And everybody's like, oh no, Battle Styles is done, it's crashed, it's and here we are. The booster boxes are now getting over $100 a booster box. Evolving Skies, we were selling that for like $93 a box, and now it's at $180 to $200
because you can't get it.
You can't get it.
People are getting a portion of their allocation, a portion of a portion sometimes. I mean, even when they had it set out like what you were supposed to get, then like my LCS, I have a really cool deal with him, and he gives me very good pricing. I do a collab with him with the channel and all that, but even he's getting a portion of his portion. So then obviously it drives up the price, it drives up the demand, because people, there's not enough of it. Like I have a bunch of ETBs of Evolving Skies. I'm just not going to open it right now. As soon as the Pokemon Company says, okay, we're slated to release the second wave and we're good, I'll start opening that again, because I don't know where it's going to be. And it's not that I'm going to keep it to sell it, but I'm going to keep it to open it for the channel when there is none on the streets. So I mean, I'm trying to I couldn't imagine what you're going through, bro, because not being able to provide your members with the product, it kills customer satisfaction. It kills, the anticipation and the perception of how your business can function when you don't even know what your suppliers are doing when you're in the dark, you know?
Well, and that's what I try to relay to people is one of the most frustrating things about being in this business is the lack of transparency from the top down. Pokemon doesn't relay any type of information to the distributors, and subsequently we don't get any information either. So you're really left in the dark on a lot of this, and then you've got your community, you've got members, you've got customers that are like, hey man, like when are we getting product? And it's like, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you, because it's frustrating for everybody. And it's really frustrating for us because we would like to let them know. We would like to let them know, hey, yeah, that next wave is coming. We've got trends that we're looking at, so we're anticipating it for this time, but then, it just gets pushed back. You think that the supply has turned the corner, and then you hear about Fusion Strike, 70% cuts, and it's just like, well, what do you do?
What's next? Yeah. And your membership customers, I would relate to as my live event customers. Okay. So I have like a very dedicated group that are always in the lives. I have more mouths than I can feed, because before my live events, I would never have to go out and buy 200 packs of anything unless I was, I don't know, like I was really making a move on a set. Now, everyone wants to open Evolving Skies. I don't have enough to give them at a reasonable price, right? It's going to be unreasonable because I would have to buy sealed product, which is at a premium, to then break it down and sell it to them per pack, right? So now I'm out on the streets trying to find, 100 packs of Evolutions or Cosmic Eclipse so I can feed them and get them to when the new sets come out, because they all want the new sets, rightfully so. And they want to see, me, a grown man dance around in my garage and open up Pokemon cards for them. So I'm in a weird place now too, where I'm trying to get creative. I'm going buffet style. I'm doing, hey, you get one of this pack, one of this pack, one of this pack. And I can't get into the new sets because I can't get it. I've gone to my LCS I go to them once a week. I'm like, hey, did anyone cancel their order? Did anyone, and he's like, no, dude, like we're all, we're in the same spot as you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's tough, man.
Well, and the thing is, again, if Pokemon went back to the old way of doing things, of where it was just all one release, we would have plenty of products. Honestly, for us personally, we would have plenty of products for members. But when they cut it up like that, and they cut it up into those 3 waves, and they say, okay, this is how much you're going to get in the first, this is how much you're going to get in the second, and in the third, it's already tough, right, to get a good allocation of products. Like, you have to be spending a lot of money. I mean, dude, like, I'll be quite frank with you, like, we're pushing $60,000, $70,000 every single month. Every single month.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And the supply or the allocations are already limited just based upon that spend. And then beyond that, you tell your resellers, okay, you're only going to get this much in this wave, and now you got to wait for the subsequent waves. It could be, I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if, let's take Evolving Skies, for instance. I would not be surprised if it wasn't second quarter of next year before we finally saw the third wave of Evolving Skies. Because like I said, everything is forming into a bottleneck where there's so much releasing, and Pokemon's constantly trying to put out more products on top of set releases, and then you're trying to mash in these other waves. Because I think what a lot of people, I think what they envision is that Pokemon's got all this stock of these waves, and it's just sitting there, and they're just like, all right, wave 1, send it out. All right, wave 2, send it out. Like, they're printing these, right? So they know all of the numbers, and that's why they're breaking it up, is to try to mitigate a lot of that initial bottleneck. So they say, okay, we're going to print this much in this wave, we'll print this much in this wave, we'll print this much in the final wave. But if they fall into a predicament where they're like, oh, we got celebrations coming out this month, but we got that third wave of battle styles, well, celebration's going to take precedence because they want to get that first release out on time. And then you're running into that issue now where it's like, okay, we're getting all the celebrations out, we got to get those printers ready for Fusion Strike that's coming out in November. Ooh, now we got another collection box that's coming out in December. And it's just like this endless cycle. And that's where I just cannot wrap my head around how they're going to dig themselves out of this unless they actually develop their own printing facilities that are solely dedicated to Pokemon products. I just don't know how we get out of this mess.
Which I can't believe they don't have, number one, because they for sure have the capital to do that. But like, if you think of it, so people are, a lot of times it's like on a very basic level on how they're thinking, like, oh, I can't get product. Okay, fine. But it creates a very predatory situation for people that can take advantage of what's going on. If you know what's going on, so let's think of the 3 waves, and let's say they're spaced 3 months apart. So you have a 9-month opportunity to take advantage, right? If you buy it real low and then you wait for the demand to go insane and then wait until people want it so bad, then they sell it for double. And then the second wave comes out. We've seen it with other sets. Then all of a sudden the booster box price goes back down to like 120, 130. And now you have people that bought them at $200 and they've lost 40%. And then you have guys that made 100%, So please take your brother inside. Sorry, dude.
Oh, no, you're good.
My daughter's hard. Okay. please take your brother inside, please.
Hey, I know that life, man. That's why I always got to lock the door, because you never know when they're going to bust in.
Dude, this is the life. This is what I'm saying. She wanted to come out and say hi. Okay, take your brother in, please. I'm so sorry, man.
Well, and the one thing that I will add to that as well is, when you're looking at this and you're trying to analyze it, and you start to see those fluctuations in prices, over the subsequent waves, you can really play it very, very smartly, right? The other side of that is pre-orders. Okay, this is where a lot of people run into trouble, and especially people that are pre-ordering a month, sometimes even 2 months in advance. And people are putting up a pre-order price. You see this a lot in Magic, right? Yeah. It's not so much in Pokemon, but you see this a lot in Magic, where people pre-order products at a certain price, right? And if on release that set pops off, and let's say you pre-ordered a draft booster from Magic for, $80 a box, and that draft booster then goes up to 120, well, hey, it's all great. But you have instances where that will drop, the set flops, and then it drops, and people are saying, hey, I want a refund.
Right.
They're going to their card store owner or whoever they pre-ordered from. They say, I want a refund on that. And it's like, well, no, like that's just how the market has reacted. But with Pokemon, it can be something similar as well. And I would caution people out there with Pokemon, especially if you are pre-ordering from somebody that far in advance, chances are there's a good chance that your pre-order is going to get canceled. Because I can tell you right now, having dealt with a lot of distributors, you really don't get your numbers until a few weeks minimum before the release. Firm numbers, because those numbers can, and they do, change. And the last thing that you or for us that we want is to guarantee a certain amount of products to people and then have to say, oh, sorry guys, we had to cancel so many of these. And so that is a word of caution that I would put out there to folks.
Yeah, it puts people like you in an impossible situation. For me, I can go out and buy whatever, but you have people that have likely paid you or a portion of, or they're expecting product at a certain amount of time, and you're at the mercy of powers and forces that you have zero control over. So, which makes it very difficult. And then you're taking the heat for, people being upset and delays when the Pokemon company is just sitting there, saying you'll get it when you get it and you'll be happy. That's not easy. That's not easy to do, man. Yeah. So I don't envy you.
And it's tough. It's tough to operate in this environment, but at the same time, when you're creating a business, you know this, when you're an entrepreneur, you understand that you're going to go through peaks and valleys, right? You're going to go through peaks and valleys. Every business experiences that. Every business owner experiences that. And ultimately, over time, the people that support you, the people that are tried and true subscribers, members, things like that, they're going to be paid the dividends later on down the line. When you all weather those tough times together, you all come out way ahead, years down the road. So, that's what I would say to people out there that may be discouraged with everything that's going on right now. It will turn around at some point. I'm not going to give a date based upon everything that's gone on and how much it's changed, but I would just say keep your head up. And it's in these times that it's more important than ever to be buying from reliable sources, especially when we get into something like Fusion Strike. That is prime breeding grounds for scammers, for scalpers. Do not go to the eBay page with the 2 reviews on it and expect to get pre-orders from there.
Or it says China at the bottom, right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't do it. Read the reviews.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I was interested to get your take on that, on the shortages, kind of what your perspective was on it, and kind of how you plan on navigating that whole battlefield.
I'm okay. I live by a few rules. Okay. And I don't know if I've said them all at once in my episodes, but when I try to invest and buy into things, there's certain angles that I try to take advantage of, or that I try to attack. I don't look at it like there's so many more things that you're looking at than I am, right? I'm just trying to kind of work an angle. When I buy into stuff, I ask myself a few questions. Let's say I'm buying a booster box, right? I've gotten a lot of heat. I said Vivid Voltage at 180 was a good price. And then the next round came up, and then Vivid Voltage went down to 110, 120. I had people commenting saying I'm a psychopath and that, how could you say this, blah, blah. And I'd have to tell them, when I give investing advice, it's not for 4 to 5 weeks. It's for 4 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then we'll reassess. Let's let it go out of print, and then we'll see how you've done. Then come back to me. Don't yell at me after 4 to 5 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So I asked myself, here are a few just pro tips, basic rules that I live by when I buy into stuff. Let's say for Battle Styles, for example, if I bought 50 boxes of Battle Styles at $89, I ask myself, will this set, when it's out of print, ever be less than $89? I don't care if it's Crimson Invasion, okay? Everyone hates that set. Steam Siege is the worst set other than Supreme Victors or something like that. No, I like Supreme Victors, but Steam Siege is the worst set, right, in modern history for Pokemon. It's worth $250 for a box, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I always ask myself that, and I say that to all my viewers. I don't care what it is, even if you're buying it for 3 times retail. Let's look at Hidden Fates, okay? Hidden Fates obviously went from retail price for an ETB, then to 150 and 200 during the hype. Then it came back to down to 100. People offloaded, and I was like, when we're down the road 4 to 5 years, is this box going to be worth less than $100? Let's get real. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Hidden Fates is going to age so well, okay, along with other sets. But if you're strategically trying to buy, even if I am not a huge fan of Battle Styles, which I'm not, that box is never going to be worth less than $89 delivered ever. And you could buy, I bought so many Chilling Reign ETBs for $38 or whatever it was. It was crazy. It was less than retail pricing. I'm like, long term, these are just going to multiply. And even better for me, because in 10 years from now, I'm going to have a real easy time selling 50 booster boxes of Battle Styles for $500 a piece, because I don't really like the set, and I'll keep a few for myself. So there's so much that goes into it. So, you just can't look at the short term of it. I don't want to talk about any of my investing tips personally, unless the set is out of print. And then we can discuss how bad or how good or how bad we did. Same with singles. I give singles, I do investing videos on singles, and I take in, there's another thing. Okay. So great. Here's another pro tip, a graded slab. Right now, the vintage graded slab PSA 10 world is kind of on its head a little bit. You could get, right now I just bought a hollow muck from Fossil in a PSA 10 It's unlimited, non-first edition, and I bought it for $160 delivered. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thought process on this. How much is a sealed pack of fossil right now? And God willing, it's unweighed. Okay. Maybe 250, somewhere in there. Okay. So follow me on this. So that's 250. Best case scenario, it's not weighed and you pull a hollow. Doesn't matter what hollow, but hooray, you pulled a hollow. Then you have to get it graded. You can't get it graded right now in PSA. It's going to cost you $150 to get it graded. If you can buy a PSA 10 hollow in any vintage Wizards of the Coast set for less than the price of a pack, I think it's a good buy long term for all of those reasons. And I preach that on my channel. And I've made huge not returns because I don't sell them, but they're worth more than when I bought them or grade, you know what I mean? But when I bought them, I bought so many PSA 10s using that kind of angle, because long term vintage is going to pick right back. It's just going to go right back up again. Right. And like right now you can buy vintage WotC PSA 10s for less than contemporary PSA 10s, but that's because you can't get the contemporary ones, right? There's no supply. But that's my, that's a big pro tip for me. I live by that.
Dude, that's raw cards too.
Yeah.
That, like, you look at raw cards, you look at raw Wizards of the Coast cards, you look at modern, like full art cards and stuff. I mean, I've got cards here, like this Giovanni's Gyarados. We've got a Japanese Umbreon, Neo 4. I mean, a lot of these cards, singles, going for less than the modern stuff, and it's wild. It's wild to me. It's just wild. Like I can go through and I can comb through Poke data, and I just look at that dissonance there, and it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense at all.
Are you ready for this play? Okay, real life story. I've gotten a Shadowless 5 years ago. It intrigued me. If you don't know what Shadowless is, it's in the base, not for you, but for the viewers. It's in base set. It fell after first edition and before base set unlimited. They have a certain shadow. You can Google it, right? So Shadowless. I got into Shadowless really hard. I really loved the set. I thought it was unique. I thought it was definitely an exploitable angle as far as investing is concerned, because it's so limited. I graded a bunch of it. I graded a few PSA 9 Charizards. I was going for the 10. Back then, you could buy a PSA 10 Shadowless Charizard. There's 12 in the world, and you could buy them for $1,200. It was just like stupid, whatever it was, right? I'm exaggerating, but it was cheap. I just traded a guy. I made a video on it 2 months ago. I traded him for 17 unlimited gym hollows. I got Blaine's Charizard in a PSA 10, that Gyarados that you just showed, the other Gyarados. So go down the line. I traded that one PSA 9 Charizard for and then one other card, and I went into PSA 10 gym, and I'll tell you why. For those reasons, on the PSA 10, there's going to be a premium for those long term, because PSA it's just going to have that extra little if you have the 10. The pop report is non-existent on those. It's sub 100 on all those cards, and at some point the community is going to wake up to that, because right now they're focusing on new stuff. They're not focusing on WotC, right? When they go back to WotC and they're like, oh wait, there's something here, then we're going to be the guys that were geniuses for buying into all these PSA 10s, because not only that, the cards you were just holding are never going to be younger than they are right now. They are just going to get older and older, and they're going to be 30 years old, and even out of the pack, they're not pristine and mint, and they can still get PSA 6s and 7s. So long term, and I was like, I'd rather give the 9 away, which is, it was a hefty card, still is. At the hype, it was selling for 15,000, came all the way down to 7. I traded it for 7K worth of PSA 10s, because I think that is the play long term. That, and I was trying to build out the gym collection for PSA 10s, but I used it as,
It's interesting how it's shifted, right? Because last year in 2020, all of the focus, at least in my opinion, was on the vintage stuff.
Yep.
And now it's like shifted now, where a lot of the focus is on modern. At least in my perception. I could be totally wrong. I'm interested to get your take on it. But it definitely seems like a lot of people are, and I think it's because of the backlog with PSA. People just aren't getting cards graded with them. And so now it's like, okay, let me try to focus on the modern stuff, maybe flipping singles, maybe trying to get, try to find a niche maybe in modern sealed products, and maybe try to take advantage of the wave system, try to take advantage when maybe we've got a long hiatus. I buy a booster box for $90, I flip it for $180 because we haven't seen that subsequent wave. So that could be it. But it is very interesting how these cards that are so old, so vintage, are basically trading at a discount to their modern counterparts.
It's nuts. I mean, just looking side by side. I mean, I could get 2 PSA 10 WotC hollows that are no one wants. Let's say a Ditto from Jim, and we'll say a Muck from Fossil. And it's trading at the same price as a loose Rayquaza from Evolving Skies, the secret rare or the alt art, right? That's going for $300-$400 or whatever it is. That's psycho to me. I can't even have that conversation. I can tell you probably why the focus has shifted from vintage is because I think a lot of people got burned when they bought during the Logan spike, and they bought at the peak. And then they saw their investment, if that's how they were looking at it, or their purchase, lose half its value. Like they just bought a brand new car and they drove it off the lot and it's worth 60%, from what they bought it at. And then also, I think the scalpers have also shifted their attention from vintage also, because I think scalpers and flippers, like true flippers, when I say I flip a card, I'm buying it to reinvest, not to do, to try to. So there's a difference, right? Like I'm buying it to like kind of feed my family and like, and then feed my addiction. So there's that, right? These guys are exploiting the market, and then they cause this frenzy, right, in the market. And then it peaks out and then it has to come back down. So I think they've also shifted their attention somewhat to the new, it was happening a lot with Hidden Fates. You'd have these guys, they were going into Target and they were buying they bought every product that was on the shelf, and then obviously it causes a shortage. And then you got these TikTok videos of I saw a dude that had 300 Hidden Fates ETBs in his living room. I'm like, someone needs to go get that guy. Call the police. We need those back in circulation. Yeah. So I think that had something to do with it too.
Yeah.
But
no, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Even still, I tell people not to give up on vintage, and if they've been in it long enough, they're still doing very well for themselves. I feel bad for the people that said, "Ooh, evolutions. Ooh, Logan Paul. Ooh, I'm buying a PSA 10 Charizard for $20,000 and now it's worth 10." I feel really bad for those guys.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for the guys like us that have been in it for a long time, and they, there was a time where I passed on a PSA 10 Charizard for $990 in like, I don't even know, 2014, 2015. And at the time I told the guy, I'm like, "You're freaking nuts. Listen, this thing's never going to be worth this much. Okay. It's shiny cardboard. Forget it." You know what I mean? Because I could buy an unweighed booster pack back then of base set for $40. I could buy a Charizard minty for $50. That's the best hit out of the pack. And this guy wants $900 for a PSA 10. I'm like, kick rocks, dude. No way. I'm the fool.
Dude, funny story. I used to do like a little bundle thing where if I was trying to move a graded card, I would basically combine it with a pack. So I combine like maybe a base set Charizard with a base set pack and sell it as a bundle.
Just to sprinkles. Sprinkles. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I think, again, like what you're saying here, for guys like us that have been in the hobby for a good amount of time, and it sounds like you've been in it even longer than me, it's just a night and day difference. It's a night and day difference. And the thing that I am happy about that I'm starting to see is that the people that are sticking around, right? Like you've seen the popularity of Pokemon cards and just, Pokemon content and everything. You've seen it take a hit, especially over this year. But the people that are sticking around are the people that are like, you know what? I'm going to watch all the videos that I can. I'm going to learn everything that I can. I made some mistakes over this last year, but I'm going to learn from them. And I'm going to understand how to not make those again. right? And I'm not going to feed into the fervor of when something like this happens again, right? They're gonna be more well positioned to sell into the highs and buy into the lows. And it's just like right now, there's so many opportunities out there, and this is kind of what I want to discuss next with you, is just the opportunities that you're seeing in the current market. But for me, it really doesn't matter. I've been involved in so many different markets. Pokemon is just a very small portion of my overall, we'll call it portfolio, right? But real estate, the financial markets, crypto, all of these different things, various different businesses. So I've seen the ebbs and flows, and it's pretty much the same across all of them, right? People always, we're horrible investors because it goes against our instinct of what we should do. When we see prices start to fall on products, we want to run, we want to sell, we want to flee for the hills. And it's like a psychological barrier that is so hard for so many people to overcome, rather than kind of taking more of that dollar cost averaging approach where it's like, hey, I don't care what the market's doing. I'm always going to be in the market no matter what it's doing. So let's jump into that. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, and I'll say, just to piggyback off that, and I'm going to give I'll give some sets that people can get into, because I'm sure people want to hear about that. But Pokemon is probably the most dangerous for me because I can't sneak into my garage in the night and open up a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Because it's calling me, right? So there's that factor, right? So there's, I'm tempted. I think for people, if you're looking to get into Pokemon, as long as you have a very sound core list of fundamental rules that you live by, that other people will say, oh yeah, that's good. You know what I mean? Like the advice that we're giving. As long as you live by that, you don't overbuy, you don't overextend. I am the biggest fan. My number one bit of advice for buying into sets: buy what you love, because if it goes to zero, you'll have just as much fun opening it. That's what I've always said. If any of the stuff that's behind me goes to zero, I'll at least be able to open it and enjoy the cards. But if you don't have that part of it, then don't do it, because you might be disappointed on some stuff. So, so that's my advice on that. Okay, so let's talk. Should we go for because I thought about this. Should we go for the best? My the set that I think is gonna explode long term. And let's think of a 5-year kind of delta. Okay, I think I'm just going to say the best right off the bat, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's so unique, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. Evolutions. Okay.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir, brother.
Or as my daughter used to say when she was a kid, evolutions, because I bought so much of it. Okay. So, and it wasn't this way when it first came out. Something very interesting came out. It happened with Evolutions, and I'll explain to people, because they always hear me, and it's in every one of my breaks, because not only obviously it gives you the feels nostalgically, but it's really a goated set, and it's very unique for one reason, and I'll tell you why. I'd like you to think of any other set where the chase card that you're looking for is not a full art. And it's not one of the bigger, it's not an alternate art or a hyper rare or whatever. The chase card in Evolutions is a standard holo Charizard, the one that everyone wants from base set. Okay. Why is this important? Aside from people, because Evolutions is one I think is one of the most pirated sets, like when making fakes. I've seen a lot of fakes of Evolutions. I think it's one of the most open and resealed sets. I've bought in a lot of those by accident, right? Not buying from reputable sources. But then also, it's not weighable. There's people that say that they can weigh contemporary. They have a system, right? Or whatever. This actually does away with, because I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't weigh stuff. I've never been a weigher, you know? So I don't know much about that. So I don't know if that's true or not. But Evolutions is so unique because it's almost as if the lighter packs would have what you're looking for if you were that right. So it's kind of protected for me. It has a shield for me in that way. Not to mention it's the reprint of base set. It has secret rares. It has break cards. It has full arts, and then the holos, and then all of it's nostalgia. Evolutions right now, I am buying as much as I can, and I don't care if it goes to zero, because it won't. And I don't care that it was printed into oblivion, okay? Because it was nuked as far as prints are concerned. But they did that in 1999 also, okay? They printed a bunch of base set. So, and we all know how that did. Evolutions right now, you can buy, people don't want to buy the booster box for $700, $800, understandable. You can buy 36 packs for $500 right now. And for me, long-term, $15 a pack, there's no reason in my mind why in 10 years, those aren't going to be $100 a pack. There's just no, in my mind, I could be wrong. There could be someone that has 1 trillion Evolutions booster boxes in a shipping container in their backyard. I don't know, and then they're going to release it on the world. But I think even then they wouldn't have enough to quench the thirst of people like us in 5 to 10 years that want to open it for their live channels, and they have thousands watching.
Well, dude, and here's something that I have to lay down real quick, because I think this is something that a lot of people overlook, is when people will always give that argument that, oh, there's people out there with just a warehouse full of Evolutions or a warehouse full of Hidden Fates. And it's like, what is the cost benefit scenario of that? Of, if these are the people, let's say that you're putting down $10,000, $20,000 on Evolutions, what else out there could be making you more money in that time frame? Like, this is why I tell people all the time that for me personally, Pokemon composes less than 10% of my overall investment portfolio. Because to be quite honest with you, there's really a lot of other better investment vehicles out there that will make you a lot more money than Pokemon will. Not only that, but the government will also give you a lot of tax deductions and a lot of tax benefits for investing in those investment vehicles, right? So if you've got somebody out there that has the capital and the means to invest that much in one particular product, and they say, I'm going to sit on this for, like we've been talking about, 10 years, 20 years, something like that, at some point, I can't see them holding that and not wanting to offload a good amount of that for the next best thing, right? So if MetaZoo takes off, or if there's some other NFT out there that takes off, I cannot imagine that these people would not want to offload the vast majority of that on the next best thing, or another investment vehicle that is a better use of those dollars.
And let's think logically also, and I've said this to my viewers too, because they give me that argument about someone holding all the stock and then releasing it. They wouldn't hold it for 10 years. And then let's say in 10 years an Evolutions box is going for $1,500, okay? They wouldn't release it at $500. They're going to sell them one at a time for $1,500.
Exactly.
Because that's what they've been. They're not going to destroy the market unless they're, they just want to watch the world burn. They're going to sell them to you one at a time for $1,500. So even if you went with that play, it's not an argument per se, because they're not going to sit on it for 10 years just to ruin that part of the market. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
because if you offload that much all at once, well, guess what? Maybe you make out well in that first shipment or whatever that you send out, but the price is just going to continue to go down as more of those come onto the market. It's just going to get cut.
Right.
So who really wants to do that, right?
Right.
The only thing that I could see is a better ploy, if it were me, would be you release a little bit of that. It's a slow trickle into the secondary market over whatever period of time that is. Say it's 20 years or something. So maybe in 5 years, you start to release a little bit. In 10 years, you start to release more, 15, 20. To me, that would be a better ploy, because then I can start to reinvest that back into, again, like I was saying, more efficient investment vehicles. Yeah. Now, I'm not sitting on $20,000 of Evolutions, right?
Right.
But if I was, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
if I didn't plan on offloading that and using it elsewhere.
I'm buying it personally because if this, my channel's becoming a thing. It wasn't a thing 6 months ago, you know, but it's becoming a thing and it's starting to make money. So I want to be able to have inventory to open up. You know what I mean? I'm doing it for the love of the opening, and then just, you know, that part of it. So I need enough so that I'm not buying it in 5 years from now for $50 a pack, because that's going to get really expensive and people might not want to pay that then. So I'm trying to buy it now so then I can give it at a reasonable price later on. And I mean, if you want to move into the next set, I think Shining Legends is such a, even still, it's such a slept on set, and everyone that I knew at the time hated Shining Legend. They're like, oh, this is going to zero. This is trash. But again, that was a time when it wasn't incredibly profitable to try to do something like this or whatever. But the set itself, I think, is strong. It has really good shinies in it. And you could still buy packs for what I consider relatively reasonable at $25, you know, under $30, I think is a reasonable price. Because people ask me, I have all different levels. I have guys that want to buy, they have no, I have some rich people in the squad. They have endless amounts of money, it seems. Then I have guys that are kind of in the middle. And then I have guys that are like, hey, you know, what do I do? What are some good packs? So I try to provide some advice at every level. And for the middle guys, you know, that can spend $30 to $50 a pack, I think Shining Legends is huge. It's going to age so well. And then Hidden Fates kind of falls in that, in that, but like a step lower, right? Because you can get it for cheaper. But all of those goated Shining sets, they're just going to age so well. They're not going to, Hidden Fates is never going to be less than $10 a pack. I'm sorry to tell you, it's just not going to happen, you know? Yeah. And then the collection boxes that come with it. Like my last episode, I bought 30 collection boxes. It cost me a good amount of money, but I'm buying those to, you know, to fund other things, like you said, later on, or to break open later on and then, you know, feed it to the squad depending on where they're at. So I'm just trying to make moves for the future so that I'm not stuck there paying the premium for a set that everyone wants to open. I want to be able to have it, you know? So,
well, you know, man, and I agree with you on all fronts on that. What I would say is that mine is slightly different in that I love those, but I like the versions that come from across the pond. So I love Evolutions. I like CP6 even more. Like I like the upcoming celebrations, but I like the 25th anniversary Japanese sets even more. Right? Because the thing about it is those products, knowing full well how difficult it really is to get products from Japan, how exclusive so much of that stuff is, I think in the past we saw, or we continue to see, the English equivalent of Japanese sets always outperformed. We're starting to, I think, move into a new paradigm, a new era where people are starting to get back to the roots. They're starting to get back to the Japanese cards, the Japanese sets, vintage and modern, and they're starting to learn that so much of this stuff is very exclusive and it's really hard to get outside of Japan. So again, and it's all on a spectrum, right? You were talking about those levels. You've got your top tier investors, you've got your middle, you've got your blue collar, and then you've got, you know, your working man. I've used that similar analogy in the past, where it's like, if you can't get first edition base set, then you get Shadowless. If you can't get Shadowless, you get Unlimited. If you can't get Unlimited, you get Japanese. Then you go to Evolutions, and it used to be CP6. Right. Now CP6 has eclipsed Evolutions, and you're starting to see that more and more with a lot of these. You look at something like Evolving Skies, which is essentially the amalgamation of Eevee Heroes and Blue Sky Stream, or not Blue, Blue Sky Stream, and these Eevee Hero boxes sitting strong, dude. These things are gonna continue to just go up and up and up, and because one of the big reasons is because it's got that Espeon VMAX promo card. We're not gonna get that card. I'm telling you guys right now. I mean, you guys can come back and you can slap me across the face if I'm wrong, but we're not getting that card. That is going to be exclusive to that set and to that box. And that's why I really, for me personally, I really am starting to focus more and more on Japanese cards, vintage and modern, and Japanese sets, because I think that based upon that exclusivity and based upon that fact of being hard to get, I think that is going to be an allure for a lot of collectors for years to come.
I couldn't agree with you more, and it's something that I've been educating myself on. That I never jumped all into Japanese. That's what I'm studying the most now. Is I want to know everything about Japanese. I want to know the crossover names, all of that stuff. Obviously, I know all the vintage stuff, but even the newer stuff, and I'm talking about exclusive cards, right? I exploited this in a way. I haven't sold it, or sold them, I should say. But back when, okay, I don't know if you know about this card. I'm sure you do, but there was the Eevee and Porygon fan club cards. Okay, so one was a 300 pointer and a 500 pointer. In 2015, I bought from a guy in Japan an Eevee fan club and it was mint for $700. Back then, that was obscene. Okay, it was obscene. When this guy was the best salesman I ever met. Okay, he told me, he's like, you can only get this. You have to be a Japanese resident. It has to be shipped over, and you have to do these following things to get it. I'm a huge Evolution line fan. I love the whole line. I'm like, give me that card right away. I got it graded. And I tried it again. It got 9s both times. It had a little nick which I didn't see or whatever. But even a PSA 9 of that card goes for about $4,500 right now. Yeah. A PSA 10 goes for $10,000. At the time, and that's after the prices have come down. That card was going for $7,000 to $8,000 in a 9 when the whole hype happened, when people were buying everything. They didn't care what it was. People said I was a lunatic back then. I'm like, this card is so exclusive, and there's others like it. You want to talk about a more contemporary version is when they're doing the mashups with Mario and Luigi. Oh, for sure. When they're doing the no one talks about Poncho Pikachus. You can get a Charizard Poncho Pikachu where Pikachu is wearing a poncho of either Charizard, both Mega Evolutions, Rayquaza, Magikarp, Gyarados, whatever you want, and he's wearing the poncho. They're mashing up the two fan favorites, and I'm like, when you could buy these cards for $100, I'm like, go get them now. You know what I mean? Like I'm get the box, open one, keep one sealed. These things are gonna skyrocket. Yeah. Everyone's like, nope, you're crazy. Because it was like 3 years ago or whatever. And like, you're nuts. What is a PSA? What do these cards go for? You know what I mean? It's insane. And there's so many, like you're saying, there's so many areas if you're looking to, exploit. I wouldn't say exploit because I don't sell anything like that. You know what I mean? So I don't realize my equity, but I know it's doing well. But if you want to jump in somewhere where you can feel real good about it, promotional Japanese all the way, mash up anything where they're mashing it's not an American icon because it didn't originate in America, but when you're talking about Mario Brothers and Luigi and then Pikachu, I mean, it's huge. They're going to do well. They're not going to go to zero, you know? Yeah. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out, because I'd like to get your opinion, but I'm starting to see a little bit of a paradigm shift again. And I think it's because people realize now how vast this hobby really is, right? Like for a lot of people that jumped in 2020, it was like base set. That was it. Maybe base set Jungle Fossil, right? Maybe Team Rocket. Like that's all that was in their scope of vision, right?
Right.
And then you start to learn about all of these other areas out there. This vast plethora of cards and products and all these different things, and you're starting to see a push, I think, towards the more exclusive. They're really starting to take old Scott Pratt's his tenets to heart.
And who is laughing all the way to the bank? Oh my gosh, that dude! Oh, like the trophy cards. Oh my gosh, people said that there was no. I bought in there. I have so many loose trophy cards that I just picked up. I mean, people were just selling them for nothing. They're for nothing, and they're mint Japanese trophy cards. Like I'm a huge fan of staff cards. I have a couple Evolution staff at the time I'm like, I don't care. They could be 50, they could be $100. I don't care. A staff, what is this? A loose staff Evolution card go for now? $1,000. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like you said, the exclusivity. Another card, if someone, for those top end guys right now, another pro tip, Vivid Voltage, if you want to stay American, Vivid Voltage staff Charizard. It skyrocketed up to like 4,000 or 5,000. It's back down to like 2,000 ish for PSA 10. I think there's a lot of them out there. I still think it's a good investment play for a long-term play. And the reason why is that was the last staff Charizard that they said that they're going to print. Isn't that correct?
I think, yeah.
So
there's the reason
being,
an angle just to give you a little background on that, it's because the hosts, the people that got these staff promo cards, were turning around and selling these. They saw the prices that they were going for. They realized that exclusivity, and they were selling them. And Pokemon said, hey, we're giving you these things for free for basically being a premier store of Pokemon, and you're taking advantage of it. And that's why they ended the staff cards.
And Evolution set that off, I think. And then they already had probably the Vivid Voltage Charizard slated, and that was the last one. So, and people are going to wake up to that in 5 to 10 years, and guess what? That might be a 10K card. You just don't know, So, yeah. I mean,
well, and that's really the core of the conversation that I wanted to really get into here today, is that I think for a lot of people, and again, having a background in finance as an advisor, having been in the real estate world as well, and seeing people's emotions, when things are falling, when things are going down, when there's uncertainty, just people panic. They just panic, and they don't see the gems that exist before their eyes. Warren Buffett, one of my favorite sayings from him is, he said, never let a good crash go to waste. He never did, because that's when he made the most money. When the economy was failing, when there was crashes, when everybody else was panicking and running for the hills, he was scooping up things. And then when it comes back up, which it inevitably does every single time,
you buy the dip. And for me, because I mean, I've seen the dog days. I was a Kings fan for a long time before they won a championship. I live in LA. I was a Kings fan before it was cool. We're at the Forum watching Gretzky lose. He won, but we never won a championship. I've been in Pokemon where I used to go to make 10% on a graded card after everything was said and done. That was the profit margin. That was the play. Now, even if we're in a dip or whatever it is you want to call this, a lull or whatever, I think there's a difference between a market crash and where it's correcting. And then also, I think there's a solidification that happens in the market when it goes down, and it truly shows you the baseline. It truly shows you what the hobby can endure price wise, and it also shows you, not only will it show you the basement, it'll show you the attic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it shows you the dyad between where you're going to go down, which is, if you've been in a lot for a long time, it's 100 times over what you paid, and then it'll show you, hey, there's no reason, Logan Paul or not, he still has 4 more first edition boxes, and there's still a lot that the Pokemon company has to give, and there's a lot of growth left. There's no reason why it can't hit that plus. So, peaks are just as important to me. Valleys are just as important as peaks, because it shows you a baseline, shows you where your basement is, and then where you can go from there and what it can reach. I mean, nobody, if I went to you right now, Nav, if I went to you in 2013 and I said, buy as many PSA 10 Charizards as possible for $1,000 each, and they were selling for 200, you'd probably tell me to get lost. Or if I told you to buy a first edition Charizard in 2014 for $10,000, and I said, listen to me, and I came to you like Biff in Back to the Future, and I said, this book will tell you all you need to know in sports betting. If I told you this card is going to sell for $500,000, okay, you'd be like, get away from me, old man, you stink. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's important. The past, learning from the past is just as important as, you know, seeing what the future can hold. So, you know,
and we're collecting those right now in the present moment. You need to realize that too, folks, is that the present moment is probably the most important, because you can't, here's the thing, you can't predict the future. You can try, right? You can try. You can't change the past, but you can always control your present moment, right?
Yeah.
The decisions that you're making right now. Learn from the past. Understand the data points and the historical incidents that we've had that can help you to better understand the future course of things. But it's what you're doing right now. It's how you're setting yourself up right now. And there's always opportunities.
And I would say to lean on, don't lean, there's people that give advice, I think, that are pillars, and there's people that are pebbles, right? I would lean on people that have been there. Like, you know, for me, like I took plays off of Nav, you know, whether you knew it or not, I would listen to what you would say and I'd make certain strategic plays if that's what you were trying to do. And they've done very well for me. And I'm surrounded by some of them. You know what I mean? So I would say lean on people that have been there before, take their advice to heart, try to hear what they're saying, and then try to execute on whatever level you're buying at. It could be small, medium, or large. Everyone started at zero, including myself and yourself. So people always are like, they get intimidated that, you know, people have so much and the hobby's so big. Forget all that. Start where you can, buy what you love, lean on people that have been there before. And then I really, if you're going to listen to investing, to people talking about investing, there's people that I see on YouTube that talk about investing and don't actually implement what they're talking about. And then there's people that you see that are buying what they're saying, you know. That's why, as much as I can, I try to show when I buy what I'm saying, because that way I'm in the boat with them. If they sink, I sink. So that, you know, so they believe it, you know what I mean? Or at least it maybe gives them some confidence. That's how I feel about it.
No, I totally agree with that. And, you know, it's one of those things, again, like what Sean's saying here, guys, is that you have to, and I've said it before too, you have to be able to start somewhere, right? You start somewhere, you build off of that. And the perhaps the most important investment that you'll ever make, I'll say this right now, the most important investment that you'll ever make is the investment in yourself. Invest in your education. Invest in learning more about your craft, right? So if you plan on making a business, if you plan on creating some kind of investment portfolio out of Pokemon, cultivate your craft. Don't just go into this willy-nilly like so many people did over 2020 and just get burned, right? You do it within your means. Don't over leverage yourself, and you will be there for the long term. You will be there for the long term, and you will be more successful.
And enjoy it. You know, if you've lost the enjoyment of just cracking a pack by yourself, but my community makes fun of me constantly because I'll throw up on Discord a huge hit that I got in my garage by myself, no cameras on. I still do that to this day. And it's just for the love of it. If you've lost that, get out. Go find something that you because you'll just be left with cardboard at the end of the day. You know, you still have to love it. And I preach that to my guys. If you can't crack a pack by yourself without the camera on, then maybe, you know, you shouldn't be putting it in front of the camera.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Still gotta love it.
I was talking to my good buddy Jules the other day. I don't know if you're familiar with Jules.
I am.
He's taken a hiatus from Pokemon over the last few months, or at least content creating. And I was talking to him the other day, and I said, "Hey man, you know what have you been doing? You know, since you haven't been doing content?" And he said, "You know, I've been doing some traveling. Went to some Comic-Cons, went to some conventions." And he said, "You know, dude, it feels good because I can go and I can crack packs and I can and I enjoy it because it's just me. There's no camera there. I don't have to worry about putting it out there to anybody else. It's just me and the hobby and my passion for the hobby." And that's something that can be tough sometimes when you get into this realm, especially of content creation, where you feel like it has to be portrayed to an audience, right? And sometimes you feel like I've even experienced it sometimes where I may be opening a pack and I'm like, should I be filming this? Should I be,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to step away and realize why it is that you got into it in the first place, what it is at the core of your being that brings you passion for that hobby. And especially when you get so knee deep into it, like the two of us, where you've created businesses, you're investing in it, your whole life it seems to revolve around around Pokemon. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you just have to step away and do it for yourself, right?
Just
do it for you,
bro. It's so true. Because really, people feel that too. Because for us, we're still just starting, but we still love it. And if you're always sincere, I think your core audience base is gonna be with you forever. Because if you pander too much and you don't link to them, like one of my biggest pet peeves, I don't care how big my channel gets, I answer if you look at any one of my videos, any one of my questions or comments, I answer every question to the best of my ability, even though it takes me hours and my wife hates it and I'm sitting there in the middle of the night answering questions. I never want to leave someone at the table without any answers. And because the guys that are asking are the ones that love it. And that was me when I would be commenting Rev or commenting you. That was me when I started. So I never want to lose sight of that. And I never want to lose sight of just loving the hobby. If it no longer becomes fun, losing the channel won't change my life. You know what I mean? So right. So as long as I'm still having fun with it and the people are still enjoying it, whatever, I have a lot more garage to build out. I'll make a freaking thing in here. Okay. I'll paint the walls green. I don't care, and you'll see me dancing on the moon. I don't give a crap, whatever it is, but I'll never stop, loving the hobby and cracking packs by myself, chasing that card. And it's just like, it makes you feel, I don't know, it's different. I can't open up every pack on camera because it's not totally genuine and I don't get the same feel, Yeah. So I don't know if you're wrapping up, but I'll tell you this. Okay. And this is a real life story. I've known LEONHART. I've known Lee Steinfeld for 7 years. He's a very, very, kind of removed guy a little bit, right? Cause his channel's so big. And he has 1.5 million subscribers, right? And we've talked about it, and he goes, you can tell he has the weight of the world on his shoulders because he's opened stuff. He opens people fail to realize he opens thousands of dollars worth of vintage product every week. And he is chasing this high. And it's, he's mentioned it. It's like, it's almost not fun at some point because he can't just enjoy it anymore. He's constantly on the spot. So if you're looking to get into this, if you have a channel or whatever, or just, whatever it is, don't lose sight of having fun with it, because at the end of the day, you're going to wake up, you've either sold everything and realized your investment, or you're sitting in a room with millions of dollars worth of product that you have no emotional attachment to. And then you're just going to be like, okay, it's just cardboard. And then you're like, and you forgot why you started. So,
which is, is something that I want to say here too, is that I've heard from a lot of other people out there that have always said, don't turn your passion into a business. And for me personally, I actually totally disagree with that, because for me, like nothing, like the passion for the hobby keeps me motivated, but also creating a business around my passion and being able to support my family from it, like that motivates me even more so. So like,
that's the dream. That's the dream.
It's totally the dream. And so for anybody out there, like if anybody's telling you that you don't turn your passion into a business, well, then what are you doing? Right? The vast majority of people work jobs that they don't enjoy, that they have no passion for. So, what's the alternative, right? What's the alternative?
What's the saying? Find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. I mean, I cannot wait to, as a man, I'm a man. I can't wait to throw on a wig and some glasses from the late 90s and jazzercise in front of a green screen. It's it's a blast, man. And then the people enjoy, it's like, it's just, and it's what I love to do, and it's what I love to do right now. Is this going to be what I love to do in 5 years from now? I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be. But yeah, if dude, that's you just described the dream to me. Being able to support for my family, doing something that I love to do. I think that's what every person needs to be looking to do.
Yeah,
like literally.
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
Well, hey, man, I truly appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure getting to chat with you. Before we sign off here today, I actually, for everybody that is watching right now, I actually do have a surprise here tonight. But before I get to that, I want to give you an opportunity. Anybody out there, maybe from the Nav Nation, that hasn't discovered you yet or hasn't checked you out, what are all of your handles, all the social media, all that good stuff that they can find you?
Dude, I appreciate that. So our Discord is the PokeVault. You can, I mean, that's a great place to be if you're looking to trade. Our community is hands down amazing. If you're familiar with Discord, a lot of people don't know about Discord. Our Instagram is PokeVault8, and we're just PokeVault on YouTube. And we do investing, we do openings, we do live box breaks. We do, just random, like I'll hop on with my community and there'll be 50 to 60 people in there. And I just let them open up and ask me questions. I'm going to start to do, because it just got to 40 something people, but for our members, I'm going to start doing exclusive members, just chats once a month, because these guys have questions, and I'm going to try to give them their $2.99 back in some way or another. So, so there's a lot of things happening, and that's how you can find me.
Excellent.
Yeah, dude.
Well, and you, my friend, are inching ever closer to that next big milestone of 10,000 subscribers.
Dude, it doesn't feel real. People say it all the time. They say road to 10K, right? That's what my guys are saying. 7 months ago, I was at 0 with no ability whatsoever to even contemplate how to upload a YouTube video. I didn't even know how to do it. Yep. To go from that to this is mind-boggling. It's confusing. It's impossible without the people that are around me that support me. Many of them pro bono, and I pay them in Pokemon cards, so it's like that. It just doesn't seem real, man. 10,000 seems insane. So, I'm just trying to get to where you are, and then see where we can go from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You're already inching ever closer, just on your own accord, on your great content and just you as a person. But for anybody out there that's watching, listening, maybe you're going to watch this in the replay, I want to provide maybe a little more incentive for you to go over and subscribe to this great guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a little bit more incentive. So for everybody that goes over, subscribes to PokeVault, when he hits 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to go ahead and throw just this sealed booster box, Battle Styles, for him to give away to his community. So when he hits 10,000, I'll let him decide how he wants to do that. But I just want to encourage all of you out there, if you guys are listening, watching, make sure you subscribe to this guy. Let's help get him to 10,000 subs, and you can get a little bit of more incentive there through a Battle Styles booster box.
That's really generous of you, bro. Thank you so much. And I'm kind of nervous now. If that's the 10K, what am I going to give you for when you hit 20,000? So that now it's making me a little bit nervous. So
so here we go. quid pro quo. Except it's not really quid pro quo. But what I will say is that I'm also looking for that next milestone of 15,000 subscribers. So anybody that can help from the Vault Squad, that can help get me to 15,000 subscribers. So both from the Nav Nation, from the Vault Squad, anybody can help me get there. I'll do a giveaway for everyone that has subscribed to both my channel and to Sean. We'll do a 1999 Japanese Southern Islands.
I want that.
We were talking about Japanese cards earlier, and this card, you're talking about PSA like this. Try to do it in the right direction. This Mew card, if you guys can get this in a PSA 10, it's about a $10,000 card. PSA 9 still go for around $200. But those are just so cool, so nostalgic. And that's one of the reasons why I wore my my Hawaiian shirt tonight. You guys might have been wondering that. What is this, just PokeNav's normal attire? Well, it is, but I also wanted to wear it tonight for the tropical vibes as well. So.
Well, I'm already subscribed, so I can't enter. I'm already in. So if any of the squad members are listening right now, go down, hit the subscribe button. Okay, and if you don't, then you're out of the squad. And everyone in Discord will attack you. Okay, and you know who I'm talking about. So subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any content. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And if you don't do it, we already know. So I don't know how, but we know. Someone will find out that you didn't hit the subscribe button. That's really generous, bro.
Hey, of course, man. Of course.
Yeah.
No, I truly love the content that you're putting out, and I really want to promote like people in the hobby that I think are very genuine, just good people. And if I can help you get to the next milestone or make it just a little bit faster, then I'm happy to do it.
Well, let me reach you, and then we can run together. How's that?
Hey, you're close, man. You're closing in fast.
I don't know, dude. I think that like people are unsubscribing then subscribing again. I don't know. I don't really know what's happening because I wake up and it's just like this can't seem real, you know. It just doesn't. It doesn't seem real yet. It's weird. I couldn't get 75. I have 600 subscribers. I couldn't get 75 people to maybe come to my funeral right now or to my that's morbid. My wedding. Okay. Like I had 100 people at my wedding. Like, this is ridiculous. There's an army. There's half of Staples Center where the Kings play hockey in the squad right now. Let's go.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Dude. It's awesome, man. And it's only going to get better from here. And we'll definitely have to do these a little more often because I think that both of our communities both appreciate it. I think you and I, we think a lot alike, and I think a lot of our philosophies are pretty similar. And I think we definitely bounce ideas well off of each other. Yeah, man. I I'm down. I'm down for it. And as much as you wanted, I didn't even know you were going to do that today. So. As much as you're willing to help me out, I'm here for you. And yeah, dude, let's just do this together. We can support each other, and then we'll laugh about this. We're like, remember when you had 7,000 subscribers? Gosh, you're such a loser, you know? Remember when we gave that Battle Styles booster box away, and now that thing's at $5,000?
Remember that? Seriously? Remember when everyone said 89 was a bad price for Battle Styles? Oh man, yeah, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I can't wait for the next one. This was awesome.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Well, again, Sean, appreciate your time, brother. Go take care of those kids, and maybe give a call to Spectrum as well, and make sure that you're not on their blacklist anymore.
They're on my blacklist now. Okay. We're changing providers. All right, Nav. I appreciate you, bro.
Hey, thank you so much, buddy. And thank you to all of you out there, both the Nav Nation and the Vault Squad, for tuning in tonight. And if you're catching this in the replay, again, make sure you go subscribe to our boy PokeVault and show the support over there as well. And other than that, guys, we will see you all next time right here on the Pokemon Network.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.